Good evening, Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live. And this evening with me, I have the leader and member of Parliament. He's the leader of National Alliance, MP, Mr. William Marlin. Sir, how are you doing?
Good evening, Oral. Good evening, viewers. Oral, as always, it's a pleasure to be here on the program. Personally, I'm doing fine, but I think that St. Martin is, going through some troubled days, unfortunately.
Well, I want to thank you for accepting the invitation to come here because it's October 10th, which is just 2 days from now, going to make 5 years since we got the separate status. And you was very instrumental as the person that went to Holland and brought back separate status to St. Martin. And you're quite knowledgeable as a politician what's happening on this island, not just in the last 5 years, but for many years before that. And I wonder how you really feel today, because seeing how hard you work to get where we are today, and seeing every time when there was an opportunity for you to even be prime minister, there was always some obstacle. And now that it is very, very clear, and that the people of St. Martin are saying, look, we don't want new elections. We want the government that is now ready to take office, and we're at this stalemate where nothing is happening. And it seems as if no one is listening to the governor, and no one is listening to what the majority of the voters are saying, that they don't want elections.
Well, the no one in this case, I think, should be, we should call a spade, as they would say. What we have is a very unfortunate situation. Unfortunate in the sense that the Council of Ministers are putting undue and unnecessary pressure on the governor, forcing him, I would say, forcing him in a corner for their personal political agenda. What has happened? The Parliament took a vote of no confidence in the government. The Constitution, in Article 33, Section 2, says clearly a minister that receives a vote of no confidence has to tender his resignation, and tendering your resignation is to the governor. That's where you go to take the oath as well. It is not one, but all of the ministers received a vote of no confidence. Today is 8 days already, because it happened on the 1st of the month, the 30th of September rather. It is 8 days gone since that vote of no confidence came down. The Council of Ministers now are actually blackmailing the governor by telling him, we will only hand in our resignation and make our seats as minister available only if you agree to sign a national decree for new elections. While both things are intertwined, the first that has to happen is you have to tender your resignation. There are all kinds of rumors again circulating as to what members of the government are doing or not doing. We just saw a report that the newly appointed Minister of Tourism and Economic Affairs is in South America. We don't know what he went there for. One can say yes, it's current business or not, but suppose he entered into some kind of agreement there with some partner, some company, or anything like that. While he was there, you receive a vote of no confidence. The first thing you got to do is make your seat, your position available, and the governor would then say, okay, you're a caretaker minister, you're a caretaker cabinet, you keep an eye on current matters, like pay bills and pay teachers, pay school boards, but you can't enter into no new major contracts or agreements, and there are certain things you should not do. They are bluntly refusing to tender their resignation. In the meantime, you're muddling things up and getting advice from constitutional experts or professors or whatnot. Or when it comes to the interpretation of law, there is never a unanimous vote amongst, let's say, the legal professors and the legal people. There are always those who think, if we look right now at what's happening to Hillary Clinton, who's running for the President of the United States, there's at one end, there are those who are saying what she's done with her emails is illegal and she should be prosecuted. And the others were saying, no, it's totally legal what she's done. There's nothing wrong there. When we had that case in the United States with O.J. Simpson, the world, many people thought that he would have been convicted for the murder. He was acquitted. He was found not guilty. And when he did something years after, retrieving goods that he claimed were stolen from him, the judge came down hard on him, and it's like, what? And we had that case in the United States with Trevor Martin, where everybody thought, hey, the guy would have been found guilty, and he was innocent. And we can come here at the local scene also. So the point that I'm trying to make, no matter the opinions of whoever else, in the case of Trevor Martin, in the case of O.J. Simpson, in the case of whoever else, it is the judge who makes the decision. And in this case, we have a constitution, and the person to make a decision is not a lawyer in Holland, is not a professor at a university, is not. The only one to make that decision, to make that call, is the governor. And he has made that call. And he called upon the ministers, the prime minister and the cabinet to do what is right. I have personally called in a press conference yesterday. Before that, I made a personal call to him because I respect him. He was one of the pillars in the fight for St. Martin to achieve separate status, along with, coincidentally as well, the same Governor Holliday today. They were the main advisors. They have made endless trips, have had sleepless nights, and put up hectic battles and fights for us to attain what we did on October 10, 2010. And to see him now trampling on the same democracy that you have tried to build, trampling on the Constitution that you have taken an oath to uphold, because the Constitution says if you get a vote of no confidence, you tender your resignation. And to have this childish excuse that the Constitution didn't explicitly say when. So then a minister in the future, should he interpret it to mean if I get a vote of no confidence, I was sworn in October, and I get a vote of no confidence in January, so I'll say, yeah, I'm going to resign, but give me 3 years? Give me 3.5 years? No. Negotiating or trying to negotiate or putting a gun to the governor's head that if you don't, we won't. In the meantime, you are behaving as if you have support from Parliament and you have a right to govern. It is an illegitimate government. It should go. And if they do not make way for a new government to take office, Oral, I'm afraid that the people of St. Martin will get upset. Will get upset, and we don't know what people who are upset, what they would do. And why I say they get upset, there are people who have been promised that when this government that was ready, when they get in office, they're going to make sure the boys in the different neighborhoods get contracts so that they can get a slice of the pie. It is now a year ago. We've had elections in August. The party that said we are ready, you have been in office. It took you some 9 months to find a complete council of ministers. It took you something like 8 months to present a governing program, half of which was plagiarized from the governing program of the Red, White, and Blue coalition. Nothing has happened. Absolutely nothing has happened that the people can say, okay, at least we've seen the light here or we've seen the light there. All government companies, Telem has its problems but is not embroiled in that much public controversy, if any, as the other government companies. But we've had issues with the harbor. We've had issues with GBE. We have the situation with the Housing Development Foundation. We have the situation with Cadastre. Um, all over where government has either ownership or has responsibility or have a shared responsibility. We have the situation at the NEPA, which is supposed to be our flagship institution, because that is where our, our professionals need to come from. Because that is an important institution, because one of the immigration problems that we have is that we got to constantly import people, because if a project has to start, we hear we don't have enough masons, we don't have enough electricians, we don't have. And this institution was set up exactly to do that, train people who are living here, whether they were born here or not. Some of them have been living here now since they were 3 years old, 4 years old, and they have become part of the St. Martin society. So rather than importing more labor, we now need to take care of those who are here, educate them and equip them. But that too is caught up in controversies. So it's like the country is bogged down in controversies. The government couldn't balance the budget. The government has gotten an instruction. A few weeks ago, not a few weeks ago, just a few days, actually a week ago, when we had the vote of no confidence, Parliament unanimously took a stand against the statements made by the Attorney General Schramm. But one of the important aspects of that was the call, unanimous call, also supported by the government, Dennis Richardson as Minister of Justice, that we want our own Attorney General that lives on St. Martin, that knows the pulse of the people of St. Martin, that understands St. Martin and knows how to direct the prosecutor's office from here. So here we have not the government of Holland that has to take a decision, not the kingdom government. The decision about the dissolution of Parliament, of having election or not, is in the hands of one who lives here, one who is from here, our governor, who understands the political culture and the political climate, who understands the dynamics of how this society operates. And after consulting with his advisors, and after consulting with the political leaders of the country, after advising with the chair of Parliament, after consulting or advising, having met with the deputy chair of the Council of Advice, he took his decision.
So, MP Marlin, now that Governor Holliday took that decision and the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers are refusing to leave office, do you think that shows any disrespect for the office of the governor?
But this is what I'm saying. They're bringing down the office of the governor. They're relegating the governor's position to that of anybody on the street corner. We have to show respect for our own. It can't be that a parliament and party and ministers talk about we need less interference from Holland. We need more autonomy. We don't want Holland to interfere in our integrity issues. We want to set up our own integrity chamber. We don't want Holland's involvement. We want this, we want that, we want more autonomy. We don't want Holland to be giving us instructions. But now you're forcing the governor to follow what some people out of The Hague or in Holland are saying in their opinion, this is the way it should go. Then you're saying our governor is incompetent and cannot solve our own issues. 2 years ago, in 2013, when we had the so-called Mexican standoff, oral, there was a letter from four members of parliament saying we are no longer supporting the government. The government then took a decision to dissolve parliament. There was no vote of no confidence. There wasn't a vote of no confidence that was brought against the Council of Ministers. There was none. This time around, there is one. On the 30th of September at 12:30, a vote of no confidence came down. There was enough time, and I can tell you, all of those who are writing advice, if you ask them if a council of ministers in Holland get a vote of no confidence from the second chamber, what will they do? Immediately resign. Immediately resign. Look at Curacao the other day. The prime minister did not even get a vote of no confidence. His party told him, we can no longer support you in the position as prime minister. What did he do? He immediately tenders his resignation and he moved on. But they are trying to hold on as much as possible. And from what I said, we understood, ministers are out there now using government companies to cut some deals that were in the making, that was done based on non-disclosure agreements, etc., etc.
So you're saying they're out there enriching themselves in a way?
The whole thing is there seem to be agreements that are being put together to benefit individuals, whether in Parliament or the Council of Ministers, but not in the benefit of the people. MP Maurice Lake that was supporting the government for the past months has been hammering, and it was falling on deaf ears as far as the government is concerned. Even when we had a meeting on the waste to energy, what did the MP said? It is a shame that we are where we are, because he said when he left office, and I can basically say the same as well, or I have been basically saying the same thing, but he said when he left office, there was a situation basically ready to be signed off on and carried out. So why is it that the government now can't tell the public what they're doing? We are hearing about secret trips to Santo Domingo and to Miami every couple of days. Board members and members of management are in Miami. We know of the controversy between the board and the supervisory board, where they are saying illegal things are taking place that resulted even with the firing of the CEO. Now we have one person, the CFO. GBE is supposed to have a 3-man management team, and we have one person at the helm of GBE, and we are afraid that decisions will be taken that will not be in the interest of the company and not in the interest of St. Martin. We've seen what happened at the harbor with something, again, that was not transparent, a so-called lease agreement between a company and the harbor to develop a piece of property, and that the lease payment was 1.5 million. We've asked questions that we have not received answers to, and when government was to answer behind closed doors, MP Franklin Myers said that if we go closed doors, he is going to reveal what was discussed behind closed doors, and therefore he is not going to stay in the meeting. And his walking out created a situation where there was no quorum. So the meeting was aborted. But something is wrong. If the harbor signs an agreement with Zebec to develop the property, and the harbor knows that there are restrictions as far as to what can be done, how much can be built or what can be built, and they allow the developer to present plans. Make changes to the plan. Present the plan to the second chamber members who were here, to the Curacao and Aruba MPs that were visiting, to the St. Martin MPs, to the St. Martin government, to the St. Martin Parliament, basically use this as the best thing that happened since the invention of sliced bread. And then after the minister signs off on it, give them a building permit, then you're going to say, oh, by the way, you know what, I think you should take that plan to the cruise company that we have an agreement with about restrictions. And then when the cruise company says, no, but you can't build that. You can build, but not that massive or that amount. And then Zebek says, you know what? Since I can't build what I want to build and what you told me it was okay to build, I want out of this agreement. And for my 1.5 million that I put up, along with the money that I spend to make drawings, I want $100 million. And then the harbor decides, no, they're crazy, they can't get that because we have done nothing wrong. And then months after, you're going to hear, oh, there's an agreement. We have a settlement, but we settle behind closed doors. There's a non-disclosure agreement as to what we settled. And when we force the government, we find out it's actually $10 million. $10 million. And then you want to tell me this is a government that is transparent, that is open, that is working for the people, that is ready? And we say, no, that is unacceptable. But the meeting actually never concluded because one MP walked out and there was no quorum anymore. So that was their way probably of squashing the whole discussion on it. And then questionable is the role that the SFV interim director played in all of this. Because without the approval of the board seemingly, he signed off on lending the harbor, providing this bridge loan of $10 million so that this deal can go away. And Orel, I think the only reason this was rushed and done this way is because the prosecutor's office has started an investigation into good governance and good corporate governance at the harbor, and specifically the construction of the causeway. So if you are investigating good corporate governance there and you find out, hey, there is a problem looming over the head of the harbor for a lawsuit of $100 million, then the prosecutor's office can start investigating as to what went wrong, what is this deal about. So if you hurriedly get it out of the way, settle for 10 million, get SZV to put up the money for the group of Indian merchants who are now going to take over the property, because apparently, because we never got the facts, but apparently the harbor would pay 5 million and the new group of Indians who are going to develop the property now, they would contribute 5 million. SZV is providing a bridge loan to make it go away. A bridge loan for 6 months while the group of Indian merchants probably get their 5 million together. But the question is now, suppose they change their mind. Suppose they say, well, with all the restrictions on this property, putting up 5 million and then investing more in it, we don't see the return on investment, and they walk away. Then what happens to the SFV funds? Or what happens to the harbor? Because the harbor has agreed to settle for 10 million, and where is it going to come from? The harbor that can't pay dividends to government, the harbor that can't come up with money for its shareholder, the owner, the government. But now the SZV is going to take the people's sickness fund money and so-called invest it in what they think is a good return on investment, because 6 months from now, we are going to get, and this happened without the board, the supervisory board of the SZV knowing. We're saying there are too many wrong things happening, and the people of St. Martin are sick, tired, and fed up. They're sick, tired, and fed up. And from, reading one of the advice from one of the Dutch lawyers, or one of the Dutch lawyers, constitutional experts, who advised, one of the latest ones, it appears that the governor has written a letter to the government telling them that there's a vote of no confidence against them, that in accordance with the vote of no confidence, uh, based on the Constitution, they have to tender their resignation. So therefore, they are a caretaker cabinet and should only take care of um, things that are already, let's say, in motion. Um, and he said in his letter apparently that um, a vote dissolving parliament is not something that you can consider taking care of current events that were already, let's say, in the pipeline. Now, whether you agree or you disagree, the decision is in the hands of the governor. That's why he is the governor. We do not have a constitutional court that says if the government feels that a decision that the governor has taken is wrong, that we can appeal to Peter, Paul, or Harry. So soliciting advice from everybody under the sun, but worse yet, soliciting advice from the Netherlands, where we are saying we don't want them meddling in our affairs. We want to show them that we are big enough to do our thing. And 5 years after we have now attained our status of a country, whether you want to call it a constituent state, whatever it is, but we have moved on to more autonomy than we have had before. But now we are holding the governor hostage and hoping that the Dutch or the kingdom government is going to intervene to settle this matter for us. It only shows then that we are behaving, and then I would say they are behaving so immature um, to force Holland to come in to take a decision that has already been taken, but because it's not in your interest, I'm going to drag the country down with me. So if one particular group can't be in government, then it's wrong.
But MP Mel, don't you think this action by the government now is hurting this island? Especially when you look around, you listen to people. The majority of the population don't want to go back to the polls now. They don't want to have election.
No, no.
And at the same time, if these people in the council ministers, the prime minister with the other ministers, if they really love St. Martin, I don't think they want to hurt St. Martin, but their action right now is
Their actions, listen, their actions are hurting St. Martin. Their actions are embarrassing the office of the governor. Their actions are trampling on the Constitution. And the people of St. Martin, people are meeting me and saying, hey, I'm happy that we now will have a government and hopefully soon. But in the same breath, they're saying, listen, if the governor decides to hold new elections, don't expect me to go vote, you know. Don't expect me to go vote. I voted already a year ago, and I ain't going back to vote because nothing gonna change. And you see, the call by some to that if you have a vote, you're going to get rid of the ship jumpers. I mean, how do you know that? And secondly, if the system according to them is broken, and therefore ship jumping is so easy or happens so often, then why hold elections under that same system? Then make sure that a government that comes in sets as priority electoral reform that would address the phenomena of ship jumping, to make it not possible, or to make it to create a system that will provide stability in government. We never hear on the French side that there was ship jumping and that the government fell midstream. What we have had was if politicians violated the rules, that they were removed from office, that they were not allowed to stay in their positions. So maybe we should look at that system to see how we can tweak it to fit let's say, our needs or to fit our circumstances. But personally, Oral, I believe that when the decision was made to change our electoral system from what it used to be, that has created the environment in which one is now saying, hey, and I can write pages of experiences that I have had recently in this last election and the one before, where politicians or budding politicians, aspiring politicians are telling you plain, the list of the National Alliance is too strong. It has too many big guns. So if Oral wants to be elected and feels, well, hey, I can't get more than 200 votes, I'm not sure I can muster more, then you won't get elected on the list of the National Alliance. But the way it used to be in the past, um, people were aligned with a party because that's the party that they believe in, that's the party they want to support. But now the candidates have no loyalty to the party, don't need to have any loyalty to the party. They move around because if I go on that list and with 200 votes, I can get elected. And once I get elected, then the seat is mine and I'm going to do what I want with it. I go negotiate with it for what is in my best interest. One candidate told me, Marlin, I have nothing against you. I don't have a problem with the National Alliance, but this is about me. I need to get elected. And my team has negotiated a good deal for me. And if I go on that list, I stand an opportunity to be elected, while on your list, I won't be. This is what has created what we have, because now there's no loyalty to the party in the sense of embracing what the party stands for. It is using a party that will enable the politician to get elected, and once elected, he then becomes the kingpin and can do what he wants.
It's just amazing because a lot of people ask me what can be done next. Can they walk in and throw that government, since the governor said, look, you guys should go home? What's next?
Yesterday I called on the Minister Dennis Richardson, who I said was a two-term governor of St. Martin, who was appointed to the Council of State, the highest advisory body in the kingdom, to represent St. Martin on that advisory body. And since he's left, the government never appointed anyone because he left to be minister. And I'm saying, lead by example. Dennis, you know better, do better. We can understand that there are some, and actually, besides Claret Connor, there is not one of them who ran on any political list who have gotten one vote from the public. So you who know better, you know how it should be done, walk away from it. Because when they had this whole discussion about MP Franz Richardson not being happy with the protocol that was signed, and that they were, he said he would bring a motion of no confidence, the minister's response was, one man can't ask me to resign, one man can't make me resign, but if the majority decides that I have to go, I'm going immediately. Now that it has taken place, you're singing a different song. So, I'm now, I don't want to put the governor in an awkward position, but I'm saying my advice to the governor would be, in this case, if they have to tender their resignation and are refusing and are trying to blackmail the governor, actually, I say unusual circumstances call for unusual decisions. So what we have is something that would never happen anywhere else in the kingdom. So if the governor now is like, how do I deal with this? Because you have a renegade group of ministers who are refusing to follow the Constitution. And then I'm saying, while the Constitution does not allow them to stay in office while they have had a vote of no confidence, but the Constitution doesn't tell the governor if they don't want to go, you should fire them. My advice to the governor would be, if they have to leave, they have to tender their resignation, and they're refusing to do so, then the governor should do what he would have to do and fire them. At least we will have some action, because we can't have a stalemate where the governor stays in his cabinet and the council of ministers stay down there running the affairs of St. Martin illegally, and nothing happens.
I think I'll go for- Oral Gibbs live, you're on call. Hello?
Yes, good night.
Good night.
I would like to say that the government that is there right now is a communist government. That's the reason why they don't want to leave. And I would like to tell Dennis Richardson, he was the former governor of St. Martin, and he should lead by example. And I would like also to tell Minister Rita Gumbs, she was a school manager, and she must lead by example and show the children what she is. And I would like the government to come out now and step up to the plate and do what they have to do, because they have the majority, and the majority can form a government. The first person I heard on Wednesday last week, Wednesday, saying that the ministers can dissolve parliament on when the law program was at Gumbs. He came with that same thing, Wednesday, and when the law program. And I turned and said, Evan Gumbs, that listen, Parliament can send home ministers, because Crusoe Parliament sent home several ministers, and he turned and said, oh, yes, yes. So I would like the governor now to do what he has to do. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear, and this is not just the feeling of one person. I've been around in the bank, in the supermarkets, on the street, on the way to the office. You're meeting people. People send you emails. You get messages, WhatsApp messages. They're saying, "Stay strong. We hope this thing will be over soon. We don't want new elections. Let the government pack up and let a new government take over for the next 3 years."
Oral Gibbs live, you're on call. Hello? You're on live caller.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
I am very, very much.
Do me a favor, Doc. You gotta turn your TV off, please. Please turn it off. Thank you.
I am sorry.
Thanks.
I am very, very much disappointed in the Minister of Justice, because all along he was defending areas of integrity. Like, for example, he did a very good job there sometimes as upholding the law in the area of higher supervision when it was necessary. He performed wonderfully. Now, I am disappointed in him because the governor, I am happy to say this, he is a very intelligent gentleman. And for that matter, he is careful about performing his duty when it comes in question to things like what is happening now, which I find very correct. And he should not be a kind of a hold-on in this kind of an ugly situation. He don't deserve it. So, in the area of the Attorney General, why can't we have our own Attorney General? As a matter of fact, it's overdue. When we come to think about it, it's overdue. Because we have a right to be growing in steps and not having such a long gap for that matter. We have a right to have our own Attorney General. I don't see why not.
Okay.
I agree with you, Doc, and thanks for calling.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So it's quite interesting when you look at Simrana today, because sometimes we say that, oh, the voters are not mature, the voters are this and that. But I can say here tonight, I think we've come along with the voters are more mature than we want to believe sometimes.
You know, the voters have experienced quite a lot. Following the elections last year, August, immediately following the elections, you had the red, white, and blue coalition
Right.
that was formed. Oral, a group of people worked relentlessly to put a governing program together. All the ministers we put forward were screened in record time. We can take the call probably.
Let me take it and come back to
Okay,
it.
yes.
Oral Gibbes live and call. Hello.
Yes. To your cabinet, you all must resign. He is telling you all like a puppet. He wants to spoil our Christmas. We don't want no re-election. We want your cabinet to resign.
Okay.
Well, you have, you know, that's loud and clear. All we can say, amen to that. It's what all the people in St. Martin are saying. And when I'm saying all,
Majority.
by far the majority of people are saying, we don't need no election, we don't want no election. It is just wasting energy and time. Government step aside because they have not been governing. The people are upset. And I'm saying we had a government, and the Wednesday that I had to hand in the final report to the governor for the formation process to be completed so that the Council of Ministers can be sworn in on October 10th, the government was licked down. Licked down for no real apparent reason. We walked away. We didn't make no noise. We didn't try to crucify anybody. We paved way for the new government, and in Parliament when we had reason to support them, particularly in the stance against Holland on certain issues, we did. When they wanted to impose stricter measures for the screening of ministers, we said no. I said no, I cannot support it because we have our institutions, we have our governor, and that's enough. When they wanted to bring the integrity chamber, we were not in agreement with it. And what we see the ombudsman did, set it up, sent it for review to the Constitutional Court because she doesn't agree with it, with certain aspects of it either.
I take some calls here. You're on live. Call. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
Mr. Marlin, this is your friend, Mr. York.
Hey, Mr. York, how you doing?
I am proud of the stand you are taking, Morris Lake and France. So you all keep up the good work because what is happening in St. Martin right now is a proper show game, you know? Of the people is suffering. And certain politicians are putting their pockets all the way through when the majority of people, and I speak to quite a few people that I know in St. Martin that are suffering because of this so-called government we have. So congratulations to you, Morris Lake and France, Mr.
Thank you, Brother York. You know, that is the sentiment of the people. I don't know how long more before the people, let's say, are going to take to the streets to protest. I wouldn't want to see a situation where, let's say like in Curacao on the 30th of May 1969, that people would burn down and, you know, destroy their country. But what we've seen, for instance, in French Quarter, where citizens are saying enough is enough, and they put up barricades. We've had a demonstration of 1990 when the heavy equipment people said, we won't take it no more, enough is enough. And I think they are forcing the people to come forward, and I think it is unnecessary. No need to antagonize the people, no need to put the governor in an awkward position, but worse yet, people like Dennis Richardson should not be allowed to be caught up in this kind of mess and you know, disgrace their own name.
They're going to call for you, MP. You're on live call. Hello? They call it? No, then hang on. Yeah. And I think what has happened to it is that you've shown a lot of leadership, something that was lacking among many politicians in the last 12 months. I think the people realized
The
that.
country was rudderless.
Yeah.
The country was rudderless. You have a prime minister who is not a politician, not a political leader. There is no political authority in office. And one of the awkward things that you have is that the Minister of Justice has actually been filling in for the Prime Minister, and the justice portfolio has suffered
Right.
because crime is totally out of control on St. Martin. And then to hear now that the response coming from the government is we have a lost generation. Well, I have children that belong to this generation, and my children are not lost.
I feel the same like you.
My children are not lost. When Attorney Schramm made his point, Dennis Richardson was one who jumped all over him because you have insulted the people of St. Martin. And I'm saying here, government, you're insulting St. Martin young people when you're saying there's a lost generation. We have problems. Every generation have problems. The problems that some in this generation have are different to the generations before and when we were growing up. But to say that we have a lost generation, I think is insulting to the young people of St. Martin.
Let me take a call for you, MP. Oral Gibbs live in caller. Hello.
Good night.
Good night.
Good evening.
Your cabinet must resign.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's if you really love St. Martin, right? And I think, look, I always say all of us love St. Martin, but now it's becoming questionable to look at the situation and to see what's happening on this beautiful island, because and I said to you during the break, in my 33 years of television in St. Martin, I've never seen this in my life. Speaking with people on the street, coming in and doing the program and getting this unanimous response from people that, look, this government that's there is gone, was fired by 8 members of parliament, and it's about time now that the 8 members of parliament be given the opportunity to form a government. Let me just
That is how democracy works.
Exactly. Let me take a quick call for you, MP. You're on live call. Hello.
Good evening. How y'all doing?
Yeah, all right.
Good evening.
Okay, how you doing? Listen, I just understand that the Minister of Justice has gone off the island to represent who I don't know. Could you explain that to me? How could you be fired and going away to represent St. Martin? Also, tomorrow I understand the Minister of Zombie is going away. Who are they representing? That's the question to you, Mr. Marlin. Who are they representing?
So that's one of the issues that I spoke about with Mr. Gibbs in the opening of the program. I was made to understand because what happened when this whole thing went down, the prime minister was so-called sick. He was not coming to the office. He was not talking to the governor. He was not going to see the governor. And Dennis Richardson was the acting prime minister. Now Dennis Richardson has left the island, so Prime Minister Marcel Gumbs resurfaces. But more troubling is, like the caller is asking, where are they going and what it is they're going to do. A minister leaving the island has to notify the governor. When Claret Connor went to Miami in connection with the so-called waste to energy, no notification was sent to the governor. And worse yet, the Council of Ministers didn't approve of the visit because he went on the expense of GEBE and they paid everything. And these things are wrong. And now tomorrow, apparently, he's going with a delegation to Santo Domingo. And the expectation is, or the speculation is, that they're trying to close a deal quickly with a company in Santo Domingo to conclude a deal that will benefit some for not 5 years, not 10 years, but 20 years and more.
Oral Gibbs live and call. Hello.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Good
Even
night.
they should pack up and go because they ain't doing nothing for the country. They ain't doing nothing at all. All they do is want to put money in their pocket. That's all they're doing. They want to richen themselves and richen the family. That's what they're doing. William, you know who this be, this poker? You know
Okay.
who be a boy.
All right, okay. Good night.
I fed up with the people, man. I fed up with him.
Okay.
It's no good at all to St. Martin.
All right, thanks for the comments. Thanks.
It's no good. Okay then.
Okay, have a good night.
Thanks.
All right, William.
So it's just but you know, it's strange. So they can't be stopped. There's no way to stop ministers now from going off island and conducting business.
No, that's why I'm saying I'm calling on the governor now,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not trying to put the governor on the spot, but I think the governor, we have an unusual situation. You have a renegade council of ministers. They're doing what they want. They do not have support from parliament. They're refusing to follow the constitution and tender their resignation. So the governor should fire them and put a stop to it.
Okay, take a
When will it end?
Taylor Coffee. Oral Gibbs, line caller. Hello.
Yes, good evening. I would like to ask MC Marlin this. I would like him to elaborate on this. I want to ask him if didn't he left work there to do for the dump that was not going to cost the government a penny? Can he elaborate more on that for me, please? Bye-bye.
Okay, well.
Yes, thanks and good night.
Can I ask-
Yes, the caller, just before we went on the break, wanted to know about the plans that we had for the waste to energy. Oral, one of the things that we had put together was a public bid. It was a public international bid. We invited companies who mastered the technology of waste to energy and had their own funding to bid for this concession on St. Martin. They would have been granted a concession, and based on that, they would build the plant, they would operate the plant, and it would be at zero cost to the government and the people of St. Martin. How would they make back their money? The electricity that they generate, they would sell to GBE, and GBE then sells this electricity to the consumers of St. Martin. So rather than generating electricity with heavy fuel, causing all of those smoke and fumes and whatnot, not all of it would have been generated by the waste energy plant, but an amount of it. But what would have been important, we would have had not $1 to spend. Before I came into office, there was an attempt by then Minister Theo Heiliger, and he entered some agreement again with Windward Roads that went sour. And what? It costed government again money because of decisions that were taken. What the settlement was after I left, I don't know. But when I was in office, I know Windward Roads was asking for something like $5 million in damages. What the final settlement is, we asked the government, we never got an answer on that either. But the plan that I had was one where with zero cost to government. Now we are hearing that this government is trying to drag GB into making an investment of some 100 million guilders or dollars. And that makes absolutely no sense. GBE at this moment can't handle everything that it has to handle. Look at what's happening now again. 20 years after Hurricane Luis, where I live, we still don't have underground cabling. People in Dutch Quarter don't have underground cabling. In Middle Region, they don't. And we are saying GB should concentrate more on these things and leave things that are not part of your core business up to other experts to do.
And well, I'm out of time. Just gonna 30 seconds in closing, please.
Well, Oral, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank the people of St. Martin for the overwhelming support that they are giving the coalition of 8. And I'm saying keep the pressure on. If need be, people should come out and demonstrate and show the government that they want them out of office and they do not want elections. It is not necessary. There is a majority that the people have confidence in that would lead this country in a direction that will benefit the people of St. Martin.
MPA Marlin, I want to thank you and wish you much success.
Hey, thanks, Oral. Thanks.
And that's it for now. See you next time. Till then, good night. Take care. Bye.